Hello, welcome to Sky's Sweaty Record Review, episode 174, the only first listen new music review show hosted by a French professor immediately after leaving the YMCA. Life is filled with change, right? I'm recording in the parking lot of the YMCA where I've worked out 3 to 4 times a week, every week for the past 8 years. Today was my last workout at this gym. They're closing it down and building a whole new one down the street. I am filled with legitimate sadness about this change. It was one way and now it's going to be all shiny and new and used to be all funky with, the cast of characters, the mayor, Sir Sweats a Lot, Creepy McCreeperson, all these people in my life, it's all going to get spread out and all shiny and new. Every year for my birthday, you have to put in your information. And so this year, I had to click up one more year, from 41 to 42. That's another change. Even for my birthday, I got these awesome headphones from my wife, and they're like these super great noise-canceling headphones. And now, I can actually hear the music that I'm reviewing. That's another change. All these good changes. Life is filled with change. That's why I'm happy that Ghostface Killah never changes. Since 1993, Ghostface Killah has not released a bad album, been on a bad album, maybe featuring, but Ghostface Killah has been amazing, has been top level since 1993. No one else in rap has had this consistency. Nobody. Jay-Z's albums are all pretty good and his rhymes are pretty good, but I don't know, you get kind of tired of the featuring and his themes and, a lot of people stayed good for a long time. But Ghostface Killah started off as one of the best rappers of all time in his first record. And this one, Ghostface Killahs, is the name of this one, he's just as good. Now that's not to say this album is as good as Enter the 36 Chambers. It's not as good as Supreme Clientele. It's not as good as a lot of his stuff. It's not as good as the thing he released earlier this year with Czarface. But it's excellent. My best friend in high school, Brad, we used to listen to a lot of hip-hop together, and especially wu-tang. And basically every time Ghostface comes out with an album, we only talk to each other a couple times a year. Every time Ghostface comes out with an album, we talk to each other and we're like, yeah, did you get it? Yeah, it's good, right? Yeah, it's good. It's good. What is it that makes Ghostface so good? Well, first of all, he knows how to get the right producer. This record is all produced by one person, Danny Raizo or something. Kaizo? Some kind of weird name. And he produces every track. Every track is well produced, and it's all comfortably within Ghostface's comfort zone. And he's done this ever since, the RZA produced everything in the beginning of the Wu-Tang, and then he stopped, and he would farm it out to lesser producers and all that stuff. But Ghostface has had impeccable control over his production. Even when he works with Czarface, still, that's in that zone. And the Ghostdini album, everything he's done, the beats are RZA-like. Early RZA-like. You got the kung fu quotes on the first, the intro track. You have grimy beats with kind of minimal samples, kind of rusty guitars and low bass, and everything has this great, that great wu-tang patina. It's just a little bit dirty. And then he rhymes over it, and his rhyming skills have not deteriorated at all. What is it about him that makes him so great? I was trying to explain it to my wife. She's Serbian, and her English is perfect, but she doesn't understand anything. When I listen to hip-hop, she understands nothing. And that happens a lot with English as a second language. And I said, well, it's not that hard for me to understand what most rappers are saying, except for Ghostface. He speaks in this crazy, super thick, triple encoded slang. A line from this record that I think is a perfect example. Rocks planted like saltines. Now, I don't know what that means. I think it has something to do with diamonds, maybe, shining, saltines. I don't know what. Ever since way back in the day with the solo album, I've just been chewing on I've chewed on Ghostface Killah lyrics and not known what they meant. And I don't look them up on Rap Genius or any of that stuff. I just like to just have them in my head. And it's this creativeness, this endless flow of crazy, awesome lyrics, unexpected rhymes coming out of nowhere that just makes him so great. Really, it's that relentless flow. He has this weird kind of whiny, high-pitched tone to his rapping voice, And it hasn't gotten old. It hasn't gotten weak. It's just as strong as it's always been. I think that's really the key. That's how he stays so good. He doesn't drop a single beat in his rhyming, and he maintains high level of production. In particular, also, like there's a couple, old Wu-Tang guest appearances here, and their game is brought up. Like Method Man's verse on the first track, Me, Denny, and Daryl, is the best I've heard Method Man in a long time. Capadonna, one of my favorites. It's pretty clear that the rap star life has taken a toll on Capadonna. When I saw Ghostface, when I saw Wu-Tang in Rochester back in 2010, right around the time I started going to this gym, Capadonna was walking around outside selling tickets to people in line, trying to get around the venue. The times, I think, are tough for Capadonna. Although, I tried to explain Capadonna to my family. I played the entire Winter Wars verse, which still, if you've never heard the last verse of the song Winter Wars with a Z by Capadonna, maybe the best verse on any Wu-Tang album, period. Just great. So he's maybe not quite up to it, but Inspector Deck is strong on this album. Master Killah is surprisingly strong. As always, the sort of junior Wu members, like Sun God, they're okay, but they don't have the charisma. They don't quite have the rhyme styles to really pull it through. There are some sort of... I think what I'll do now is I'll just play, just for a second, a little bit of that first track, Me, Denny, and Daryl. In case you haven't listened to Ghostface in a while, just listen to the first 15, 20 seconds of it, and just tell me this is not vintage Ghostface here in 2019. Hit play.
Yo, yeah. Foreign cars, we copping them, hopping them with Glocks in them. Stick up kids on dead streets, we popping first, we box them in behind the wheel of drivers, hitting gas before the oxygen, trying to find whatever holes that he can tie.
Fancy. Did you hear it? That like great Wu-Tang style beat and his relentless cadence going on. It's awesome. It's unchanging. It's like every time Ghostface releases something, just listen to it because it's going to be great. There are some low points. The track Flex is not that interesting. Party Over Here, I don't know. When I think Ghostface, I don't think party. I think like grime. I think dirt, crime, and inscrutable grammar and slang. Waffles and ice cream. I don't like it when Wu-Tang quotes old Wu-Tang. It makes them feel dead. I mean, there's this whole kind of Wu-Tang moment happening now where they have a show and like there's a lot of sort of like retrospectives of it. It feels dead. Ghostface is not dead. I think the rest of Wu-Tang basically is, right? And they're mostly just in kind of greatest hits mode. I would love to be wrong. I'd love for them to just show up out of nowhere and release another great album, but I don't know. The last track, Sour Sop, is this kind of reggae tune. It's okay. There's a sort of... another sort of highlight, the track Fly Over Everything, I think it's called. No, Fly Everything. Super well produced. Maybe the best production by Danny Kaizo, I think is how you say his name. Pistol Smoke, another good track. The track New World is sort of a departure from the rest of the record. It's a very noticeable, very clear sample. The same sample that Biz Markie used on the track A Thing Named Kim, which in today's atmosphere is not an acceptable song. Very transphobic. It was the 80s. That's not an excuse. Maybe an explanation. But the same Aaron Neville sample that the Biz Markie used, Ghostface used. And so I was just all mixed up because I was hearing Ghostface was doing like this rhyme all about, like, it's sort of like his, look out for the Illuminati. It's terrible for us in the streets and, look out for microwaves and weird kind of conspiracy theories, mixed in with some actually kind of woke good stuff about police brutality and all that. But all with that, like, what I associate with Biz Markie. Speaking of problematic, I don't know if he's grandfathered in, but twice Ghostface uses the F-word slur for homosexuals, which I'm a little bit surprised, because that's, even in rap, that's basically outmoded. But I don't think he uses it. He uses it as neutrally as it can be used because it's the sound of the word that he uses. But anyways, I hope that stops. And then finally, the track, The Chase, is just a super badass track. Great production on this. Just get in your car, put on The Chase, at night, drive a little bit over the speed limit. Just kind of like turn it up. It works great with my new headphones, like kind of pulsing. It's really nice because at the end there's like actual DJing, and the producer, Danny Kaizo, pulls out the the instrumentation and just leaves like the bass and the drums, so it's kind of minimal. So there it is. This is my last time working out at my gym. My first time on my new headphones. All this changed, but Ghostface is forever. All right. I said before, I shook his hand once, right? When he was in Rochester, I shook his hand. And then 3 days later, I was at a Star Wars convention, and I shook George Lucas's hand. This hand. Exciting times. Okay, until next time, where I won't be here, I'll be sweaty somewhere else. There's the camera.